Mr. Krishan Ramiad. Krishan, how are you, buddy?
I'm really well, thank you. It's great to be with you again, Tom.
Great to have you on the show again. So we did our show a couple of weeks ago, and people love that. And just those, if they're tuning in for the first time, I've been seeing Krishan because he's a hands-on practitioner, and he's the best in the business as far as I'm concerned. Because I keep going and seeing him. I've seen all kinds of different people, but I align with this guy, and I think you will as well, because he just has a wonderful amount of wisdom, knowledge, experience, and also just magical hands. The methods he uses work, and he helps your body heal, get in alignment, recover, and move forward. It fills you with energy, all kinds of things. So you've got some great stuff for us today, Krishan, about posture and what it means, and what your posture says about you, and what other people's posture says about them. So, and we're going to do some exercises as well at the end, so people stay tuned to the end. Because you'll actually get some hands-on benefit from Krishan's experience, and we'll go through, and he'll take you through a session, give you a taster of what it is and how you can even benefit from it remotely. So
perfect. So why don't I thank you so much for that, firstly, Tom. I appreciate the compliments, and I don't take them lightly. I want to touch on something you said, because it's a beautiful segue into what we're going to talk about, which is the reason people, I often hear what you've said many times, which is that I've seen lots of people, but I get something different when I come to see you. And it's not because I'm somehow more magical or special than anyone else, but I do something on purpose that's unique, which is that when we work with people, and again, we'll teach people how to, we'll give the audience like a hands-on experience.
Never diminish your light, though. Never diminish your light.
Sure. Thank you.
I'm playing, I'm teasing.
I'm a magical wizard, thank you.
There you go, wizard. Wizard is 81. Yes, and energy 74, gematria 74, so it's all good stuff. So,
all right. So what I mean by that is, what we do that's different is we help upgrade the nervous system. So that means it is possible in this day and age, with all the wise people who've come before us, to go, okay, I've got about 5 to 10 minutes. How can I somehow interact with someone so that their nervous system learned how to process stress, energy, and information more quickly and more efficiently than it could before? And somehow we wire that in so that the brain learns. So that's why I hear what you've said many times. Like, I've tried lots of things, but I get something different. It's because our intention is different. We're not looking at a person saying something's wrong, I need to fix it. Like, that shouldn't be happening. We start looking for what's working in someone, because when you find what works, you instantly find energy, you find resourcefulness, and the nervous system starts to switch online. So that is like a fundamental bit. And the reason I say that is because whether we like, this is a segue into our talk, whether we like it or not, whenever we meet people, we judge them in about 1 second to 2 minutes maximum. Right. So it won't be a surprise to many people that in interviews, the interview is decided, like the success of the interview is decided inside the first 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's because we oh, hang on, balloons. I've no, as you can tell,
that's a true point, particularly here on YouTube. It's like they, unless they're the loyal super fans, people, if they're just skirting around the internet and it pops up in the algorithm, they'll be like, yeah, we'll give this a few seconds to a minute, to see where we go. Yeah, maybe that. Yeah,
exactly.
Because hold on, if you're one of the new ones, hold on, because you're going to get some magic at the end. That's why the balloons popped up.
There you go. Magic is with us. And so I say that because whether we like it or not, we're reading each other. And so I want to talk about posture in a slightly different light, because, posture, we all know instinctively that good posture is important. We know it's better than bad posture. And no one has to justify that to anyone. We all know having good posture is good. We've all been taught growing up, stand up straight, sit up straight, as if it's somehow some kind of important thing. What I want to go through this evening is I want to break it down, because at this point in my career, I've seen more than 100,000 patient visits. And what it's shown me is that different postures mean different things.
Yeah.
And so when you can get a sense of this, there's a few options that become available. You can work on it yourself. You can better connect with and understand others. And you can also get an idea of how you and others see the world. And that ultimately gives us more ability to connect to relate to people, and it opens options for us because we can start to relate in new ways and make new connections. Okay, so basically there are 5 main postural types we see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do my best to kind of put them on for people so we can kind of see what's happening, and then we'll have interrupt me and ask any questions as I go. So,
and talking of posture,
yeah,
I joked about this last week, but I'm always reminded every time I see you. So if you looked in an encyclopedia and you looked at the human form, Krishan's one of these guys. I've met a few in my lifetime, but he's one of them. It's like everything is just in balance, everything's in alignment, and that gives a certain aura and an energy off, and it's like, okay, this guy's got what we've got. So I'm just, not to make you blush, but
no.
ladies and gentlemen, be like, well, if you meet Krishan in person, everything he practices what he teaches, basically.
And that's essential. No, and you're right about that, in the sense that I receive the kind of care I practice, and I live the kind of principles that it's based on, and have done for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
So that's what, and the other thing is that then on top of that, and so as I said, we'll be teaching people something at the end they can actually do to cultivate this themselves. But if you add to that things that spark your innate radiance, and I say innate radiance because the way we all radiate health and well-being is unique. And so it's good to understand your natural type, and maybe we can talk about that in another workshop. But the point is that if you get your nervous system working well and upgraded, and then you add good practices to it, that's the impact. And the point is, I suppose the aim for all of us, or the aim or an aspiration, is you become a source of well-being for your community just by showing up.
Yes.
There's nothing you have to add, nothing you have to say. Something in your presence says, I'm well, you can be well.
Yeah, it's the ripple effect.
Yeah, life works. Like, it can work, life is working for us, not against us, even though sometimes it can, it doesn't feel that way at all, right? So when our posture changes, what it means is we don't have enough energy to regulate ourselves. And this is really important because, horrible example, but it'll make sense. If I hit my thumb with a hammer and I don't hit it too, there we go, thumb, and I don't hit it too hard. I know I have children. They've obviously clicked to settings. I'm getting all these feedback.
Maybe it's our divine guardian.
I think it's just there you go. Already to get it off. If I hit my thumb, but I don't hit it too hard, my thumb will remain intact, but it might be a bit sore and bruised.
Yeah.
Now, if I introduce too much energy into it and hit it with a hammer that's really hard, my thumb's going to break. And this is basically how our energy and our posture and our life works. If we have enough energy freely available inside our system, which is really, our body and our energetic fields, if we have enough energy available and accessible, then we can withstand what life is demanding of us. If we don't have enough energy, we have to kind of think or bastardize ourselves somehow to kind of adapt to what's happening. We have to compromise ourselves, might be a kinder word. We have to make some kind of compromise. And basically our posture is how we compromise.
Yes.
Okay. So there are 5 main types of compromises. So the first is that the upper neck tips. I'm obviously exaggerating for the sake of the video, right? And when the upper neck tips, we feel a bit like, oh, there's not enough time, like shock, anxiety, low-grade panic, fear, too much to do, not enough time. And we literally become like a rabbit in headlights. Our eyes get a bit bulgy, heart rate rises, stress levels rise, and it's like, a bit like that.
Yeah.
And these people, when their neck tips, are always obsessing about time. They are often the people who are always always early for something or always late, right? And we know people like this, right? And
late is 38 gold. Yeah, balance.
Yeah, exactly. Either always early or late. And it's like they can't relax about time. They're worried about time. They're always worried about time. Or it might not manifest as time. They might feel it as anxiety and not even realize why. But when you lock your upper neck like this, which is one of the 5 postural deviations.
Yeah.
time becomes a stress factor as
Yeah.
opposed to being just something we relax into. Yeah. So that's the first one. The first one is the upper neck, and it deals with time. So when we recognize that in other people, if it's a a child or a loved one or a colleague, the questions can be things like, have you allowed enough time? Have you got things planned so you can turn up on time?
Mm.
Do you need my help planning the timing? And those people will just instantly feel relieved by what you've said. They'll feel seen, heard, and acknowledged, which is how we heal anything. We start by
Yeah.
acknowledging it, right? Becoming aware of it and accepting it as it is, right? And then on we go. The second type, so this is the first type is the upper neck, and it's about time, but it's ultimately about not trusting life. Like, I don't trust everything's going to work out, so I need to
Mm.
worry about it, right? That's what worry is. It's a warning, which is useful if it's a genuine warning, but it's a hindrance if it's a posturally created thought, feeling, emotion, story, experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because now we're in a loop. So that posture is like a lens we start to see life through. So rather than I'm meeting Tom, it's am I going to be on time for Tom? Yeah.
Yeah.
The second one we come down to is the low neck. Yes, the low neck tips forward, and these are people who feel angry and they don't trust people. So these people, like say, I'll turn side on so you can see the lower neck comes forward, or if it gets repressive, it kind of tucks in here. And what that's doing is it's like an animal. It's like, I'm going to bring you closer to me because you could attack me at any minute and I'm on guard. So I'm kind of got my
Yeah.
eyes, right? And it even feels a bit oppressive as I do it.
Yeah.
So those people have either had the experience or are waiting for someone to let them down. So they're a
Yeah.
bit suspicious. Typically, their trust has been betrayed at some point, and it was, and they didn't have enough energy to say no, stand up for themselves, overcome the hurt, whatever it might have been. And so the nervous system's gone, people can let you down. It hurts a lot when people let you down. So let's remain on guard because it could happen again at any time. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's the lens they're looking through. They're looking at you with an air of suspicion. Or they might be really friendly until you get too close.
Mm.
Yeah? And these people get angry easily. And that anger is pushing you away to protect them. And I say that because, one thing I tell my kids is it's totally fine to be angry. We just don't get angry at someone else. Meaning,
Mm.
feel your anger and all your experience, but don't project it onto someone else and kind of attack them with it, right? Because
Mm.
that's not going to help the world in any way, shape, or form. But you feeling what you're angry about and having that mature into a need you have, and then have that mature into something you're asking for, brilliant. You can do that all day long. That's very
Yeah.
healthy. Just getting angry at someone isn't really going to do anything. So with these people, it can be, you want to be asking them questions like, what is it you're expecting of me? What is it that I need to do for you so that we know this thing is complete? So if it's a family, friend, or loved one, right? So that what you want to drive at is, you're expecting me to do something. What is it? Tell me what your rules are, so that
Mm-hmm.
I can either tell you up front, yes, I agree to them, or no, I don't. And then if not, we can change them, or we can work out why.
Yeah.
Happy days. Otherwise, these people will snap, lose their temper, get angry, get irritated, and they may not even, realize why. Because it's an unconscious filter. Like, they don't even realize they're looking through the lens. So, it's a joke, but it's kind of serious. If you get cut up by someone in the morning driving and you see their neck forward, let them go. Like, those are the ones who would stop the car, get out, scream, shout, like road rage, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
we laugh, but it's like it happened all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've all seen it, right?
Pick your battles. Yeah. Just let it go. Yeah.
Especially with that posture, just let it go. It's not worth you being on the receiving end of their anger or rage, because
Yeah.
that's how they see the world. And in their mind, they're right. In their
Yes.
mind, their brain and their nervous system, when it's locked into that posture and it's looking through that lens, it's gone, you see, we were right. People let you down.
Yeah.
That driver wasn't being considerate, or whatever the story is. It creates a story in their brain, and their
Yeah.
brain, as you know, is always looking for evidence to prove itself right. That's what it does.
Yeah, your reticular activating system. Yeah,
You got it. And so what the exercise will do at the end, if you want to clean that activation system and get it activated for something else like peace, connection, growth, and harmony, and abundance and well-being, then we can show you how to actually get your nervous system tapped into that, not just as a theory, but as a embodied sense. So the third type of posture is this one in the middle neck, and this is really common in newsreaders. And this is like when our neck tips.
They even read the news like that.
They do. And it's a bit like Dr. Spock, because what we're doing is we are cutting off our emotions and we're just thinking. So it's all in our head. There is no connection with our heart. We've kind of like cut the connection. And the reason we do that is it allows us to, that's what lets them go. Today, tragically, someone died. Okay. And now the football, and it's like there's no feeling involved in what they're saying. Then they're not emotionally connecting with that was someone's son or sister or brother or whomever it was. There's no emotional connection to that was a human being, a part of our global community. There's no sense of that. It's just a person who died. And my point in saying that is the way that we'll notice this posture is these are the people who talk and talk and talk and talk, but never make a point. It's like they can just go and go and they don't even realize what it is they're saying or trying to say because they haven't got a feeling or an emotion behind what's coming out of their mouth.
Yeah.
So when you and I had the talk we were having before we started our recording, we knew when we were done because we had a feeling we were trying to get across to each other. And when we got that feeling across, we were like, okay, we're complete.
Yeah.
But with this posture,
understanding,
exactly. But with this posture, there's none of that. It's just I can't even feel what you're feeling. I can't even feel what I'm feeling, let alone connect with what you're feeling. The other thing that happened with this posture is it squishes passion and spontaneity and enthusiasm, because those feelings are all feelings that are designed to overcome the mind. They're designed to overpower the mind because they are spontaneous and invigorating, and they're meant to pull us into the moment and just to bring us a unique experience.
Yeah.
None of which can be controlled.
Yes.
But the mind doesn't like that, especially not in the UK, right? In the UK, and this is the phrase we hear, how are you? I'm fine. Fine. Right? Now, and it's interesting because I, over the course of my career, I've taken care of people from all different countries all around the world. And this is a UK thing. Like in Italy, it's very okay. Your voice, shout, scream, be upset, and like emotions flow. In South America, emotions flow easily. Americans, can be very expressive. Some other European countries can be more rigid, right? So it's like, it's the key thing is people say they're fine because they've experienced a lot of emotion that was overwhelming, and so their mind said, I need to down-regulate this experience so that I can get through. So that's why I'm fine. I'm letting my mind take over, and I'm just kind of keeping it at bay. So with those people, when you're interacting with them, what you want to, just in a very transactional way, you want to help them say, so what are you actually feeling? And what is it you need? And then what are you asking for? And what you're trying to get them to do is to tune into themselves and tell you, because then there's something a bit more concrete. Interestingly, these people do not mind being interrupted. Like they don't have the same mechanism for understanding it as other people would. Because because their brain's just going. They don't. It's interesting. You can just interrupt them, and then they'll stop and listen, and it just because otherwise, what tends to happen is they keep going, and it's wasting everyone's time and energy, sucking energy out of the space between you as well, which maybe we'll touch on in another talk. That's a whole other topic. But essentially, they don't mind being interrupted. It's like part of them knows this was wasting energy, and it's over. I can relax a bit. Right?
It's the talking head.
It is. It really is. They are actually, if you've ever heard the phrase, I can't remember where I read it. They said, and they were talking about this characteristic. The job of our physical body is to carry our head around from meeting to meeting.
Mm.
And I think I read it in reference to university professors.
Mm.
The job of their physical body is to carry their head around from meeting to meeting, which means by definition, they are missing all of that magical wisdom and information. There's 14 billion years of evolution inside our cells, just waiting for us to tap into it. And most people only let their body tell them something when they need the loo, when they're hungry, or when they need to be sick. Right. So that's the first three. So we've got this time and lack of trust in life, essentially, lack of trust in people and anger. And then we have this kind of I'm fine overthinking. The next one is the pelvis. I'm just going to stand up so you can see my pelvis.
Yeah.
Typical hands on hips.
Pelvis.
Exactly, right? Elvis pelvis. So hand on hips, which basically means I'm more important than you. I'm the one in charge because I'm making my pelvis larger than yours. You'll listen to what I say. You'll do what I say, right? So one of my, I've always got to pre-qualify this statement. One of my closest friends is an assistant headmaster, but it's a typical headmaster stance. Like I'm on stage. I'm the one in charge. We're going to do what I say. My decisions are the right decisions. You'll follow me.
Arsene Wenger used to do that, the headmaster on the football pitch.
Yeah. Because they're projecting power, which interestingly typically means they don't feel powerful enough. If you feel powerful enough, you don't need to. A lion does not waste time roaring.
No.
It just relaxes and rolls around in the sun. Woe betide you if you go too close to it or poke it. Then you'll know it's a lion. But otherwise, it's like I'm going to relax and play.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our pelvis is about our identity. It's about the rules. It's about the roles. It's about the thoughts we have. It's about the stories we've inherited from our family and our culture and our ancestry. It's like the thought, the consciousness that goes with it is it should be like this. ... And we all have a different cultural variation for that. It should be like this because I'm a man, or I'm a woman, or I identify as this, or whatever. I'm of this ethnic background, or whatever. But it's about rules, roles, and identity, which ultimately, like really practically, it affects what we decide to do. So it's like I can talk to you because I have some rule that says this is okay for me. Some people might not because they might feel like they're afraid, or they might feel that people are going to think they're a fraud, or they might feel like I don't have anything valuable to say. You know what I mean? Like this is what holds people back. It's often their rules and their stories.
Yeah.
They live in the pelvis. So if the projected power is this, hands on hips, if you imagine if I cross my legs one over the other and kind of shift from foot to foot, I'm making my pelvis smaller. I'm trying to take up less space. Don't notice me. Don't think about me. I don't even trust my decisions. I'm questioning myself all the time, and that's what we're projecting out.
Right.
Excuse me. And I say that because we have a bit of our brain, and it's been active in this talk the whole time, so I may as well mention it now. It's called a mirror neuron. So that means when we're together, there's a part of my brain that's reading yours, and a part of your brain that's reading mine. And that mirror neuron, or that series of neurons, more than one, is telling me how you think and feel, and it's telling you how I think and feel, and that's helping us to get into connection and into synchronize and to get into harmony. I bet you it would be a cool thing to do if we measured our heart rates and we had a heart rate monitor on the side of our screens. At certain points in the talk, our heart rate would match exactly, which is part of that connection happening. I mean, I know I can feel it when we really resonate, but I'm sure that would be a thing. I haven't actually tested that for full disclosure, but I think it would be a thing. So my point is, if I'm trying to take up less space, I'm telling you to ignore me. I'm telling you, don't trust what I think because I don't trust what I think. And if I'm projecting strength, it will, unless someone's really strong in their center and is confident enough to go, hang on a minute, I know you really think that, but I'm not sure. Tell me more.
Mm.
We'll just go with, often we just go along with the strongest signal. So I have a little rule I like to say is that in any system, which is a group of people in this instance, the one with the most coherence wins. The one with the energy that's the most well organized will win. It's the one that will naturally influence the group dynamic the most. And that's how it's supposed to be. That's how evolution wants it to be. It wants the most evolved signal to be the ones that runs the ship, rather than the most chaotic signal, right? Interestingly, often when you look at, politicians arguing in parliament to try and get their point across. I mean, there's the clue, arguing to get their point across.
Yeah.
Their nervous system is not coherent. It's chaotic. That is a chaotic system. A coherent system, they'd be peacefully sitting down, having a cup of tea, going, tell me what you think. I can see the value in that. This is what I think. And then they'd negotiate and come up with something with the greatest good of all included, right? We're not quite there yet. And then, so coming back to this pelvis idea, we've got this rigid fixed, we've got this kind of not rigid enough too weak where it's buckling under itself. And then we have your pop star, which is the one that will take their pelvis and jut it out to the side. And what they're basically doing psychologically is saying, notice this bit of my identity, but ignore this bit over here that I don't want you to see.
Interesting.
Yeah, because
can you show us the pop star pelvis again?
I'll do my best.
Okay.
The pop star pelvis is that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So headmaster, person who's unsure, foot to foot, pop star, right?
The Mick Jagger. That's the Mick Jagger one, isn't it?
They're literally what, and they don't realize, but the pelvis is a part of our identity. So we want to highlight some parts and lessen other parts. And so when you meet someone like this, the kind of things you want to be asking them, and all these things are to get a better connection or just to have an easier, smoother relationship with them, is you want to know what their rules are. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're involved in a project. You want to know, well, what are the boundaries? What are the rules? You want to know, what are your shoulds? How do you think this should go? And I use that word on purpose. I don't like the word should because I find it to be generally limiting and controlling. And language is hugely powerful in terms of how our energy and nervous system work and how it pitches information. Again, that's a whole other talk. But in this case, because it's how their nervous system is working, they'll feel acknowledged. So you want to know all their shoulds. If you're involved in the project, what should happen first? What do you think should happen next? How do we know when this is complete? What should happen after that? Is there anything you're expecting of me in particular at this stage, at this stage, at this stage, at this stage? What are the rules? What can we do? What can't we do? What decisions are you making? What are the key decisions involved? So you're just speaking their language. The archetype I've often used is, you have a post office worker, and I've nothing against post office work. I actually take care of post office workers in practice. And they're like, here's a form that you have to do. And they're like, I'm sorry, you've only signed it 23 times, not 24 times. You have to do the form again. And you're like, and you're like, really? It doesn't, do I? You know what I mean? So we've got this not trusting in life, worried about time, not trusting in people, they get angry. And then we've got cutting off the emotions. And then we've got the pelvis, which is all about our rules and roles and identity. So the last two. So we have one where the neck goes one way and the pelvis goes the other way. So it's your typical teenage posture. So neck goes like this, pelvis goes like that, right? So this person's like, oh, it's like a sign of resignation. So if we connect these two things, it's exactly that. Oh God, right? Exactly. It's exactly that posture. And what those people feel is like, it can't be my way. It can't be the way I want. So I should just do this. It's like they've given up. It's like the death of a dream. It's a sense of resignation. It's a sense that the thing I'd really like to decide to do that would make my identity whole and what I'm really passionate about can't connect. So I'm just going to shut off the emotion about it, and I'm just going to go along and do what someone else says. So the kind of it's more intense because you're kind of leaking energy from two places at once rather than just one or the other. Those people are, and this is again something you can talk to them about, is you can ask them the question, if you, and here's the thing we have to be kind of careful, not careful, just sensitive to. For someone to feel that way, it could be that as a child, their parents got split up and part of them wanted to be like their mum and part wanted to be like their father, but they couldn't put the two together because mum and dad couldn't put themselves together, so it can be really intense, and we have to be very sensitive. It could also just be that they've had a real deep desire, dream, or project, and either they weren't supported or they couldn't surmount incredible odds, or something's happened and this dream or hope they have inside has kind of been squashed. Can also happen when rather than really reveal ourselves and show up, it's like, hang on, that would be too much. So I'm going to withdraw and pull myself in. And so the neck goes one way, the pelvis goes the other way. So my point is it can be sensitive because for some reason people have withdrawn, either withdrawn energetically into themselves or withdrawn in terms of what they're producing in the world. And a little secret is those two things are hand in hand. So someone wants to produce more in the world, they have to show up. And how they show up, there's a myriad of options, but showing up and being present to that is essential. So the question for these people is, well, if you had it all your way, what would you do? If life could be on your terms, what would it look like? And with those questions, you're rekindling the dream inside. You're rekindling that hope that they can connect their passion and their emotion with their decisions. And even if that's just in a project, okay, so your role, Sally, is to do this, this, and this. If it could all be your way, how would it go? And what you're driving at is what are some of your hopes and aspirations and dreams, but you're just phrasing it in a way that lets them go there without overwhelming people, and then you can just kindle it back to life. And just so you know, if you ask people these questions, these can be some of the most healing conversations they have. Most people have never had, sadly, people take the time to connect with them and ponder, how do I best connect with you in a way that's going to produce healing and change?
Yeah.
And it's just,
The world's crying out for that.
Yeah, in practice for years now, I've asked people questions like, why do you think your body's not healing? Because it gets their nervous system to connect, and healing begins with that question. You can start the healing process with your present. This is what I mean. Your questions, just these little tidbits, as they were. So the final one is when our neck comes forward and our tailbone comes under. So it's like you take your whole posture and we round it down like this. So
like a C shape.
Like a C shape. So the typical example I always tell people when I've presented this live is, if I said to you, if I stood like this in this posture versus this posture, and if I said to you in this posture, don't worry, I'll remember to take the bins out. Like, right?
You're going to be worried. You're not going to take the bins out.
No. You can trust me with that really important job that needs to be completed in time, right? Like, this posture does not convey that. If I just say to you in this posture, I've got it, it's handled, you're like, okay. Right? Because our posture is saying, because what our posture really is how our inner world meets the outer world.
Yeah.
Right. And it's about the lenses and the experiences in the way of that, right? So this one, when the neck comes forward and the coccyx comes forward, it's when we feel like more is being asked of me than I've got the energy to meet. So overwhelm. We can feel like a victim. We can be angry because we've been victimized. And we may actually, people like that may have had the experience of being objectively victimized, which is, horrendous. But nonetheless, that's what goes with it. So classic example, I'm doing a talk to an audience live, and I'll say, okay, time for questions. And then I'll say, right, I've got time for 2 more questions. Okay, no more questions. Thank you so much, guys. I need to go. As I'm walking out the door, someone comes to me, can I ask you one more question? And I'm like, I'm really sorry, love, I've got to go. I need to be home for my children. You can email me. I'd love to field your question. And then she walks away no one's ever there for me. No one's ever
Mm.
got, and it's like, no, there was lots of opportunity you could have seized, and
Yes.
where I could have, but something in her nervous system, this is a fictitious person, is
Oh,
feeling,
I've had that. I had that at an event in Birmingham. I spoke
yeah,
to about 20 or 30 people, and a
yeah,
woman lectured at the end. I was like, I can't. And then she just did that
yeah,
movement.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
because their
tried to answer
nervous,
everyone's questions, but she was validating her belief system basically.
exactly. And the thing with this is that our posture is showing, it's like an X-ray into someone's mind and life and emotions, and you can predict how someone will behave as a result almost.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this nervous system is going to do that. It's not going to seize the opportunity. However, those people, if you can unlock that nervous system and get that energy, rather than have all that energy bound up inside, get that energy moving, they become great leaders. They become great advocates for others. They become great advocates to alleviate the suffering of others. They become advocates for social change. They do amazing, amazing things. Um, and if that energy is locked up, it's like I haven't got enough energy for me. There's not enough energy in life. I need to
Mm-hmm.
suck the energy out of life just to kind of keep myself perpetuated.
Yeah.
So when you are working with those people, good questions are, what would you need to feel supported? Because they don't feel like they have enough energy. So when you ask them what do you need to feel supported? It's like, oh, just that's a possibility. That question will open, oh, someone's
Yeah.
here to support me, right? And
Mm-hmm.
on its own, that can shift everything. So just a quick recap. We have 5 main postural types, and then I'll take any questions and then we'll jump into some exercises. So we talked about this upper neck, which is about time and about trust that everything will work out in time, or I'm in a bit of an anxiety, panic, worry that there's not enough time. We have the C5, the low neck, which is I don't trust people. I'm a bit suspicious of people. And we get angry, typically because we've been hurt or let down before, or we perceive that. We have the one in the neck, which is where the mind squashes the emotions. And then we go round and round and round in circles in our head and never make a point. And then we don't experience passion and we don't experience enthusiasm, which is a real shame. Then we have our pelvis, which is about rules and roles and identity. That, I'm projecting mine on you or I'm repressing it and questioning myself. And then
Mm-hmm.
we have the pop star, which is somewhere in the middle, which is about, see this bit of me, not this bit, right? And then we have the combinations, which is the neck and pelvis about, can I don't feel like I can get life on my terms, or how do I get life on my terms? And then we have the low neck and the coccyx, which is ultimately about leadership and abundance, which means when it's tight, it feels like I haven't got enough power and there's not enough to go around, which are very strong themes in our world right now, which tells me as a prediction for where humanity is moving. As that energy is liberated inside people, we're going to see more leaders. We're going to see more abundance for more people. We're going to see more people reclaiming their power or realizing they had it, because a bit of a tough pill to swallow. But if we don't feel like we have our power, I mean, this is not in all cases, but in many, is because we have willingly given our power away. Now,
Yeah.
sometimes, often, we were too young to understand that principle and we weren't supported enough in holding it, granted, and that's horrific. And nonetheless, that still happens. But as adults, we have the ability to reclaim our power. An adult with reclaimed power, an adult with adaptive posture that doesn't get locked into these perspectives,
Mm-hmm.
that's a potent combination, because energy and freely adaptive perspective creates very different actions, and that becomes a new world.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's what I see. I've observed it happening over the past 17 years I've been doing this, and I believe it will continue.
Definitely. The new world in numbers is
You're adding it up.
yeah. There's another one here I've got. Hang on. So a new world.
Yeah.
The yeah. A new world is 115. November 5th. That's my favorite date right now at the moment.
Is it?
So yeah, and the new world is 147, which is the trump card, which is the frequency. And I think somehow frequency
Yes.
will be a big part of where we're going.
So let me just dovetail off that. So, and then, yeah, I'll take any questions. If not, we can go into the exercise. When we change our posture, what we're doing is, if you can imagine your nerves, which attach, they come out of your brain, they
Yeah.
attach to the base of your skull, they go down your spinal cord and attach into your sacrum, okay? So they're tethered in place, and then they can move inside that tethering, okay? When we change our posture, we change the tension on our nerves.
Yes.
And it's like a guitar string.
Yeah.
So if I'm feeling in a state of peace and at one with myself and life, it might be bong, right? If I'm in a state of stress, it might be like, right? So frequency is literally emitted from our bodies at a different, wavelength, amplitude, everything, as our posture changes. But you can't do it by doing a postural exercise, because a postural exercise will affect your muscles and your bones, but not your nerves.
Yes.
Not in a way to get this kind of change in terms of energy and consciousness that I'm talking about. It might straighten you up a bit, but I'm talking about nerve tension that creates a consciousness and thought and emotion and thinking setup.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. It's you change your posture in this way, you change the frequency you emit, and then life is like a boomerang. You're throwing a boomerang out, and then life brings it back to you.
Yeah.
Again, which is what we were talking about at the beginning, right? If you send the boomerang out with more coherence, you get more coherent back. If you send a chaotic boomerang out, which is what sadly lots of people are doing, you're getting chaos returned to you. Which is I suppose the final segue I'd have into the exercise, but to wrap this up, is that the reason we want to do this, if you want your nervous system to be clear so that you can harness what I think is the most precious resource human beings have, which is our attention. Because whatever we put our attention on, we collaborate with, we enter relationship with, and we get more of.
Yeah.
So it's like, I suppose that is something I'd like every human being on the planet to be able to harness to their highest good, for the highest good of everyone. Like, what is it we're putting our attention on? But if the system is noisy with stress and too much tension on those nerves, it's much harder to do.
Yeah. Yeah, where energy goes, attention flows, doesn't it? Or where attention flows, energy goes. It's
Because
when you put it on, you get more of it.
because and this is the last thing I'll say, then we can do the exercise, because energy doesn't have its own consciousness. Okay, so this might be a whole other talk, but energy just moves, but it goes in a track, it goes in a pathway for what is common, similar, and familiar. And that human beings develop a habit and a personality around that. When you apply consciousness to energy, you can move it somewhere else, and then habits, beliefs, personalities change. So energy and consciousness have to be worked with together if you really want to get this to change, because otherwise energy will just do what it knows, which is just to go where the track is.
Yeah.
So, unless you have any other questions, my suggestion is that we go into an exercise that's going to help people find something that's really working well inside their nervous system, and to start to get all of their nervous system to kind of become coherent around what's working well, so we can get people just in a more coherent state of being.
Yeah, I think we're going to the exercise. I don't have any questions. I have a couple of observations. But
Please.
talking of questions, I think what would be good is if people want to put in the comments, if you want to put questions for Krishan for our next show, and maybe we'll figure it out. I might be able to do a live. Maybe we get some of the audience actually asking questions. So that's something we might be able to do in future shows. So you talked about so the frequency, and it gives you more power, basically. So power in numbers is 77. Hertz, the unit of frequency, is also 77. And vibrate is 77. So that's all to do with everything. 77 is a major power number. I mean, Christ is 77, whether it's just religious or whether it's not, you know, Christ consciousness, all those things. Your name is quite similar to that with Krishan. You know, there's the Kra in there. You've got the charism oil. Even when you talked about energy consciousness, so I looked at the numbers on that, 249, which actually comes to my channel plus my name. So Psych.Club plus Tom numbers is 249, which is energy consciousness, which is 249. So that was pretty fun. That was cool. But I agree, the tuning fork, the violin string of our nervous system, and that's the other thing. So that's probably it. I've known that, we've talked about it, but you've highlighted it again. So the work you do affects the nervous system, affects the software of our bodies. Yes. And that's kind of been the missing link. And I think that so many people out there will resonate with that. And that's why I keep working with you, because you're affecting my software and I feel it. And it's like, oh, I don't know what he's done, but I feel good, you know. And it's not just, you know, moving the muscles or the bones or the joints. Because that can kind of be, there's a kind of a falsetto element to that. But actually going in and restoring the software to its kind of ground zero settings, it's like, that feels good. And you feel it. We feel it. We're very sensitive. You know, people feel good. We're emotive beings and we're physical beings and spiritual beings and conscious beings and ethereal beings. But when you're affecting that software, which is the, you know, the nervous system, it's amazing. It's like night and day, you know.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I'm a super practical person, you know, so if something works, I'll keep it. If it doesn't, I'll chuck it out. And I get this care myself with this approach because it works. But also all of those things you've mentioned will be physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, ethereal, mystical. All of those experiences we have or that are available to us, we experience through our nervous system.
Yeah.
So you get that nervous system upgraded, and the word we use is reorganize, because you know the reason we couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together is because Humpty Dumpty was now called
that's on a wall.
He was now called to be a hash brown or a potato salad or mashed potato, something else. The point is that the point of that rhyme is you can't go back. Right? People have this idea that, you know, take me back to how I was before the symptom, or take me back to how I was before, because it was all working then. And what they're missing is the life we lived before brought us here. So we have to go forward. We have to reorganize. We have to do things with our energy and information in a different
go through.
Yeah. You know, it's like going on a bear hunt. You can't go over it. You can't go under it. You have to go through it, right? So
on a what hike?
There's a children's book. Well, I say children, I think it's useful for adults as well. It's called Bear Hunt, or We're Going on a Bear Hunt, and it's
a bear hunt. A bear hunt. Okay.
And it says in it, you know, we're going on a bear hunt. You know, we can't go. You know, they approach a field. We can't go over it. We can't go under it. We have to go through it. And it's the same line again and again and again. So,
Good. All right, buddy. Yes. So everyone, get ready.
Exercise time.
Comfortably, we're going to exercise. Yeah, this is practical benefit time for everyone.
A little bit. So we're going to be using 3 parts of our nervous system. So upper chest. So just if that's my clavicle here, we're going just under it. So not on the throat. We don't want the thumbs on the throat. We'll come to the throat at a more advanced point in time. So here, the second one is going to be our solar plexus, so the end of our rib cage is a squidgy bit, and the third is our belly. So navel, solar plexus, upper chest. Okay, and what we're going to do, we're going to check in with each place. We're going to connect. These are 3 major branches of the vagus nerve as well, and we want to start to get an embodied sense of how we're doing, of how we're connecting. Okay, so we're going to be breathing in the nose, out the mouth. We're going to move through each area. Tom, if you actually do it, what I'll do is I'll watch you, and then people can kind of reference you when they're watching this back later. So if you start, so main things are to sit or lie comfortably. If you're lying down, try not to have anything under your neck, because if we bring our head forward, we tense here, and that will disconnect our head and heart, and we want our head and heart on the same page. I think it's about time we had a bit of that humanity. Okay, so sitting comfortably, feet flat on the floor, or you can lie down on the floor. So one hand flat on top of the other. Remember, these are like camera lenses. They're going to be collecting information, so we want them nice and aligned, but also relaxed. on your navel. So
Mhm.
belly button, if that, just drop that thumb. If it was up, I think I saw your left thumb was up. So close your eyes if you feel comfortable. And this is just so we can block out the surrounding stimulus and start to connect inside. If it's uncomfortable, you can leave your eyes open. So we're going to breathe in the nose, out the mouth. I'm going to direct all of our breath and energy and movement and attention underneath our hands. Perfect. And we really just want to be getting a sense of, can I put my attention here? We want to be getting a sense of, when I put my attention here, what's it like? Like, can I do it? Is it easy? Is it difficult? Am I getting distracted? Etc., etc. Okay, perfect. And then come up to the place in the middle. So your solar plexus, in the nose, out the mouth. Let's have a look. Perfect. Directing all that breath underneath your hands and just noticing what it's like to be present here. Okay, perfect. And then come into your upper chest. A little bit higher. Come up about another inch, Tom. Perfect. In the nose, out the mouth. That's it. So really directing all the breath under your hands, all of your attention under your hands. Brilliant. Okay, so put your hand on whichever one of those three you felt the easiest to connect with, or the most straightforward to connect with. Yeah. So you just keep your hand there, Tom. If you're watching this live, you might want to just go back, because you'll notice when Tom puts his hands on his abdomen, his shoulders relax, his whole physiology drops. You can see it doing it again there. Whereas when he's higher up in his body, it's more awkward for him. It's just not as easy to connect. So we don't need to understand why. We just need to know this place works well. If this is the first time doing it, you might need a bit longer. That's fine. Go back and give yourself that. But trust your instinct. Trust your instincts of what you're sensing. Give yourself more time if you need it, but we always want to find what works and start with what works and do more with what works. So Tom, I'd like just to, in the nose, out the mouth, we're just going to put all this focus and attention and just luxuriate on the fact that this part of our body works really well. As he's doing it, you can see his whole physiology is lifting and opening. It's like he's coming into this much more well posture as opposed to this much more stressed posture. Wonderful. Good. Perfect. All right, wonderful. And now I'd like you to put your hand after that out breath on whichever one of the other two places was more challenging to connect with. Perfect. Yeah, not a surprise, upper chest. I say not a surprise because this was the one he even found more difficult to kind of locate physically. So it's not a surprise that it's more difficult to connect with. So in the nose, out the mouth. And what we're hoping to notice is, as having spent some time on the area that's more connected or more peaceful and more available, this should start to naturally open up. Can you feel how it's already a bit easier than it was before, Tom?
Mm.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, come back onto the place that works really well. So in the nose, out the mouth. Wonderful. Yeah, you can see when you go here, this whole, I'm talking to the audience, your whole physiology is opening. It's like it's extending back into well-being, literally. It's not recoiling forward into a stress posture. So this is his nervous system. If you're just watching this, his nervous system is literally opening his posture. It's stretching open those nerves and that frequency. This is literally what it looks like. Brilliant. Okay, and then bring your hand back onto that upper chest. Let's see if we can acknowledge it a bit more to get some more change. Yeah, you can see how this time you go straight to it. You can find it now. Perfect. In the nose, out the mouth. Good. And on your out breath, we just want to acknowledge it. So, and we want to say it out loud so we can hear ourselves, because it uses more of the brain when we do that, and it gets more of the brain involved in what we're doing and creates more embodiment and healing more quickly. So on the out breath, just so you can hear yourself, I want you just to say, and people doing this at home, you can just say, sometimes I feel disconnected here. Perfect. So just so that so you can hear yourself. And it's always sometimes I feel, because all suffering, it gets all pervasive. So the moment you say sometimes, you're breaking that all pervasiveness and reducing the.
Sometimes I feel less connected here.
Perfect. And then get the breath in there. Awesome. There it goes. And you feel how now you've got more range there, Tom.
Yeah.
There we go. Perfect. And then come back onto the place that works. So that means you've gone from this connection to more connection, which is brilliant. And then just do a few breaths on that place that works really well in the nose. That's it. In the nose, out the mouth. Perfect. Good. And for people watching, you can see his whole physiology is dropping. And if you're doing this at home, I hope you're noticing the same. And if not, it's okay. It's like, but like learning the piano. It takes, practice to get fingers and keys, but persist with it. It does pay benefits when you get it. And it doesn't take that long. Perfect. And let your hands drop by your sides and just let your body reorganize however it's going to. So tips for people at home is always to find what works, do more with what works, and end with what works. Tom, when you're ready, just come back round to me. Let me know how you're doing.
Yeah.
So can you see, and people watching, you can just look at his affect, you can sense his nervous system is quieter. There's less thinking happening. He's more present in his body. Not that he was disconnected before. This is what I mean about upgrade. You were good before, you've now upgraded by finding what works, putting your attention on what works, doing that in an embodied way, connecting where you were disconnected, and letting your nervous system put all that together. And as you can see, it doesn't take long. Wonderful, Tom. Do you have anything you want to add or share after that?
Just mellow, just relaxing. Even when we're doing the conversation, I can feel myself kind of just relaxing into it, and
Awesome.
and then doing the exercise just takes it down but up a few notches, if that makes sense,
It makes complete sense, and I think that's a lovely way to close up. Is that's our goal. We want it embodied. Otherwise, a lot of this talk of energy, consciousness, and new world, things changing, it gets too conceptual. It actually, I think, is going to become incredibly practical. Meaning, how do we live? How do we treat ourselves? How do we treat each other? How do we treat the planet? It's not actually that difficult, but if it's not embodied, it gets convoluted and then it gets missed. So really, if we can get it in our body, in our physiology, and sense it and feel it, then it becomes instinctive.
Yeah, presence. Yeah.
You got it, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. Well, I look forward to our next show together. And I
Likewise.
think people put questions in the comments and we're trying to incorporate those. And I think we maybe I'll figure it out, see if we can get a live and see if we can get some questions from people. How can people find you? We'll put the links below in the video. So check out the link. But how can we find you, Krishan?
On the link, there'll be my YouTube channel for the practice where I kind of do this work hands-on. On there, there's also an email address, so people might want to email and have questions. And then the other place will be next time I'm here with you.
Excellent.
So people, because it's a pleasure to be with you and, to add value and to share. So let me know what people want to know, what they're asking. And if people, I can't say, if people have questions, like, oh, can you explain this, this, and this?
Yeah.
Happy to tailor what we're talking about and just make sure we're including all of that.
Brilliant. And wherever you are in the world, so if you're here in the UK, many of you will be in the US, Canada, Australia, Europe. wherever you are, tune in regularly, because we're going to keep doing these practices, and it'd be a nice thing for people to incorporate week by week.
Yes.
Getting more deeper connection with their body, with their soul. So,
and you know, if there's interest, then we can maybe do something in just a bit down the line where we take people through, because there are 12 of those exercises. I've just done the intro to number 1. So we could lead people through them and lead people through these embodied states of consciousness and healing, so they can, you know, take advantage of them in their lives more.
Definitely, we'll do that. I think, and as people get familiar and enjoy it, we'll be able to fashion certain things. Probably do some workshops further down the line. You know, ones that people can tap into remotely, and
sounds great.
Keep coming in and ask the questions, and we'll get a feel of what people are looking for, what they want, and how we can help them. So,
wonderful.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, thank you so much again, Tom. I look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks, Krishan. I'll see you soon. Take care, man. Bye.
Bye now.